Now, the next song we're going to look at will take most of the chords we've learned so far and put them together. So the Horse with No Name, 2 chords, and it's the same sequence that's repeated. Sweet Home Alabama, 3 chords, again the same sequence just repeated over and over. This next song has 3 different sequences in the one song. So we're going to take our G chord, C add 9, our D chord and E minor, and we'll combine those 4 chords together to give us this new song, which is by Green Day, and it's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. Now, the first sequence starts off with the G chord. So, like we had in the previous lesson, these fingers in particular, close to the frets. And we're going to play 2 measures or 2 bars of the G chord. So that will be equivalent of 8 down strums. Then we're going to move on to the C add 9 chord. We're going to play that for 4 beats, and then we're going to move on to the D chord and we'll play that for 4 beats. And that's our first sequence, which will be repeated again. Go back to the G for 8 beats, C add 9 for 4, and the D for 4. Okay, so I hope you're familiar with these chords that we've done already. If you're not, remember to go back and practice them. This sequence here, the G, C add 9, D, they're the same 3 chords that we used for the Lynyrd Skynyrd song, Sweet Home Alabama, but they are going the opposite direction. So maybe before we continue, it would be a good idea to just work your way through those chords, making sure that your fingers know exactly where you have to go. So like we did before, you start off with your G, take your fingers off together, put them down together for C add 9. You start on C add 9, take your fingers off together and put them down together for D. And then once you're at D, you need to get back to G again to start the sequence, so lift off these 2 fingers and down together for G. Okay, so if you're okay with that sequence, we're going to have a look at playing that now together. So we're going to do it nice and slowly. After 4, remember there's 8 down strums for the G. We would usually class that as being 2 bars, 2 measures if you prefer. So that's going to be 2 lots of 4, which adds up to 8. But it's easier to count to 4 than it is to count to 8. And also, music tends to be organised in these smaller measurements called bars. Generally speaking, a lot of the music we'll be looking at will be 4 beats in each bar. So we'd have 1 bar would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 bar into the next bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So obviously when we're playing the music, it's seamless. There's no interruption between the bars. It just keeps on moving. So let's give it a try. So we're starting with G. After 4, 2, 3, 4. So you have our G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stay on G. 1, 2, 3. Then move to C add 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. D. 1, 2, 3. Back to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stay on the G. 1, 2, 3. C add 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to G. Okay, so that sequence is repeated a few times at the beginning of the song. Make sure you can move through all the chords nice and smoothly. And I mean, this song is played faster, so you need to start off slowly. Once you're comfortable with that, then we can move to try and make things a little bit faster. The next sequence in this song starts on E minor. We'll be moving from the E minor to D. There are no fingers in common between these two chords. You just have to lift off your fingers off the E minor and go to the D chord. Now, if you're using fingers 1 and 2 for E minor, which we have so far, well, those two fingers will stay in the 2nd fret when moving to the D chord. Other than that, there's no other real landmarks that are there. You just have to practice moving between them. So like we said before, lift your fingers off together and try and put them down together. Practice going the other direction. We don't really need it for this song, but still it'll be useful for the future. Have your D, lift your fingers off together, put them down together for E minor. Okay, so practice between those two chords. Make sure you're comfortable with that. And when you're ready with that, we'll move on to the next sequence. So we'll have 4 beats for E minor, then we're going to move to D, 4 beats for C add 9, and then 4 beats for G. That sequence repeats itself then: E minor, D, C add 9, G. Let's give that a try. So starting on the E minor after 4. 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. D. 1, 2, 3, 4. C add 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. G. 1, 2, 3. Back to E minor. 1, 2, 3. D. 1, 2, 3. C add 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Again, you will need to keep practicing that sequence until you're absolutely comfortable with it. You can move between all the chords nice and smoothly. And like we said before, the rhythm has to keep going, no matter what happens. Keep that rhythm moving. If you feel that maybe some of the changes are a little bit difficult, go back to this kind of dry run, just moving your fingers from one chord to the next without strumming. That way you can really focus on what your left hand is doing. Other than that, you could also try to slow things down. Again, speed is absolutely the last thing you need to worry about. Make sure you can play everything correctly first, and then the speed is what will come next. So if you have to play it even twice as slow, that's perfectly okay. You start off as slow as you have to go, just so that you keep the rhythm steady. And very important that the rhythm keeps moving. Okay, so you get the idea. So you can do it as slowly as you want. Now, we're going to have a look at the last sequence in this song. So it's E minor for 4 strums, then changing to G, back to E minor, G, E minor, D, and then G. So a slightly longer sequence than the others. Now, we'll take that nice and slowly. After 4, starting with the E minor, 2, 3, 4. So E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4. Change to G, 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4. D, 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 1, 2, 3, 4. And finish it there. Okay. So that sequence is the end sequence. It doesn't repeat itself. It then moves back into the first sequence again and goes through the rest of the chords for the song. So let's try to put the whole thing together just to give you an idea of what this song will sound like when you put all those sequences together. We'll go through it nice and slowly first of all. So starting with the G, 2, 3, 4, to G, 1, 2, 3, 4, stay on G, 1, 2, 3, 4, C at 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 1, 2, 3, back to G, 1, 2, 3, 4, stay on the G, 1, 2, 3, C at 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 1, 2, 3, second sequence E minor, 1, 2, 3, D, 1, 2, 3, C at 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 1, 2, 3, back to E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, C at 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 1, 2, 3, the final sequence E minor, 1, 2, 3, G, 1, 2, 3, E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're finished. The entire thing starts again, and that's your song, pretty much. Now, obviously, if you listen to the recorded version, it's much faster. But we're only starting, so we have to play things nice and slowly first of all. You might think to yourself, well, it doesn't sound like the song, but give yourself time. We have to start somewhere. We need to play everything correctly first. That's really the most important thing. There is no point in playing each chord really fast and then stopping for a couple of seconds in between each chord. So again, I can't repeat this often enough. You really have to get everything right at a slow speed, and then it's okay to speed things up. It's perfectly okay to test yourself, try to play things a little bit faster, but it should be the very last thing that you worry about. So maybe at the end of your practice session, if you've worked on all the chords and you're happy enough and you want to try playing a bit faster just to see what happens, perfectly fine. It might give you some pointers as to maybe places that might need some extra work. Maybe you might have thought that going from G to C at 9 was perfectly fine, and then when you speed it up, that you maybe falter a little bit. So then that would tell you that you need to practice that chord change some more. So perfectly fine to try playing it faster, but just make sure you practice slowly first. Playing it fast all the time won't be good practice. We'll talk about the best ways to get value from your practice in another lesson in this course. So go back through all those chords. Obviously look back through this video again as often as you need. Make sure you're comfortable with all those chord changes, and then we're going to try have a look at some extra rhythm that we can apply to both this song and to The Horse with No Name. So we'll see you in the next lesson.